How y'all doing?
Good. All right.
Good.
Daddy.
But that wasn't good enough.
All right. Great.
Here's what I'm going to do. I need some participation from y'all. I'm going to ask you, MLK, y'all good? And I need you to reply back to me, we all good. All right? So let's try that. MLK. I didn't say y'all good yet.
Yeah, that's right.
MLK.
We all good.
Y'all good?
We all good.
Y'all good?
We all good.
Y'all good?
We all good.
All right. Let's get on with this now. Thank you for that introduction, Pastor McCready. I'd like to say something here before I go on with my opening letter. I got to do some hospitality. And I'd like to first say thank you to Miss Karina Morrison, who has, I want to say, discovered me in a candid way, because she caught me rehearsing for a speech, and she thought it was one of the best speeches. I don't want to say best, but a good speech she heard. It was during the election year. I thought she was recruiting me to become some leader in an election run or something. But I'd like to thank her for bringing me out here and trusting me to bring y'all this message, bring you all this message, and just giving me the opportunity to stand up before you and to stand in front of this beautiful building, the Martin Luther King Center. And I also like to thank Pat Harney, who gave me the warmest embrace when I walked through the doors. And I only know that because when I walked through the doors, the first thing she said was, "I saw your video." And she said it was such enthusiasm and energy. I was like, ooh, we're going to get along. So I'd like to thank her too. And I'd like to thank the staff, the members of the coalition who also embraced me when I came through the doors, making me feel like family, long distance family. So I want to say thank you to them. And I want to open with for some of you who are new here, maybe might not know the history of this place, I want to give you some history on this Martin Luther King Center. And today's title of this message is going to be called "The Dream is Still Alive." And since 1974, the MLK Center has been a staple, a safe haven, and an anchor for the North Greenwood most blighted, poverty-stricken neighborhoods. The center has helped build families, restore hope to the hopeless, gave food to the hungry. It has helped single moms bear the responsibility of single parenting, and it has helped our youth get through school and to win the challenging times of being a teenager. Most importantly, it has molded, shaped, and built leaders and volunteers out of most of you here today. We are not here just to celebrate the opening of the Martin Luther King Center. There are a lot of you here today who stood to fight for these grounds because you believed in protecting the legacy, a richer inheritance for generations to come. Many of you believed in the very same thing Dr. Martin Luther King fought his entire life for, which are freedoms, equalities, love, service, and civil rights for all people. And that's why these doors to the MLK Center welcomes everybody. But before that, it was reprimands that were made by the city of Clearwater because of structural building repairs to either shut this place down or fix the place up. Immediately following the planned announced closing, a coalition was formed. A coalition was formed to save the MLK Center. A coalition of people and volunteers and concerned citizens like you. People who didn't wait for state and government officials and politicians to step in. It was the people of Clearwater who saw the value in keeping the center open. And I'd like to say thanks to a little lady named Shelley Leonard, who got the ball rolling on preserving history. And with that, I'd like for you all to give yourselves and that lady a round of applause. So with that, let me share something with you. Martin Luther King said, "Every man must decide whether he will walk in the light of creative altruisms or the darkness of destructive selfishness. This is the judgment. Life's most persistent question is, what are you doing for others?" And you know, that's where I start my piece off at, because life has a very funny way of speaking to us all. Some of us see visions, some of us have dreams, some of us see images. For me, life speaks to me in the form of acronyms. I get acronyms. They don't spell anything per se, but they have a meaning to them. And the acronym that came to me were 5 letters. The 5 letters were AYASP. And they asked me this question. It said, Marcus, are you a star player, or are you a self-promoter? I didn't get that quite yet, but it continued to go on when it said, Marcus, are you a star player, or are you a self-promoter? Because here's what it wasn't talking about. It wasn't talking about athletics. It wasn't talking about celebrity status. It wasn't talking about fame. But what it was talking about was, are you being a symbol of light, going out into the darkness, shining your light on others, or are you being a self-promoter like the light, taking from the dark, like the darkness, taking from the light? Which one are you? Are you a star player, or are you a self-promoter? Because here's what it said. It said, Marcus, because everybody has NBA talent. No matter how short, how tall, you all have NBA talent. Everybody here has a natural born ability to be great and good at something. A gift. And what do you do with gifts? We get gifts from God. Gifts are meant to give away. When you got a gift, when you went Christmas shopping this year, what did you do? You bought gifts to give them away. And gifts are what? Gifts, giving impacts futures today. If I gave a little child that's starving right now food, she's made it to live to see tomorrow. If I give a man dying from the hot desert sun shelter, he's made it to see tomorrow. Giving impacts futures today. What am I asking you to do? What are you giving to help lead our community? You see, Martin Luther King was a man who was not concerned with monetary riches. Martin Luther King was a man who was not concerned about popular status. He was a man who was not concerned about name recognition. Martin Luther King was a man, matter of fact, they said Martin Luther King had what they call a poor man's campaign. A campaign that he thought it'd be more important to give his time, his gifts, his earnings, his money, everything from his writing and his speeches to forward the dream of the civil rights movement. What am I saying? Martin Luther King gave to the community to see the dream. And he wasn't concerned about riches. But here we are in 2015, still celebrating his rich legacy. I'm saying to you, do not seek the riches in life, but seek the richness of life. Martin Luther King was not preaching from the ivory towers. He was not writing scripts and sermons from some dark place that popped up out of nowhere. No. Martin Luther King, he took to the streets. He marched with the protesters. He went to the Appalachians. He went to the tenements in Chicago and slept with the poor people. Martin Luther King was not just the sermon. He went out and became the sermon. He didn't just give the message. He became the messenger. Martin Luther King was a man who gave to further a dream, to see people like me and you come together. This is why we enjoy the civil liberties today. There's a quote that says this: what a man does for himself, he takes with him. But what he does for others, he leaves behind. What are you leaving behind? You see, here's the problem. We all care about being star. We want to be self-promoters. But what happens when you are a self-promoter, you become a lone star. And when you are a lone star, you die, you burn out from self-absorption. But when you are a star in a galaxy amongst a billion stars, and you become burnt out, you got people like me, you got people like Karina, you got people like Pastor McCready over here who can help light you back up when you're tired and you're sick and you're down and you can't give no more. When you become a star player, you become a person who get to shine with the rest of us. I'm telling you, don't come in here with your ego. You notice something about egos? They sit way up here where they fly alone, and unfortunately they die alone. I want to say to you, we do not have to rebuild the pyramids. It's already been built. It's already been laid. The ground has already been paved. Martin Luther King paved the way. All we need to do now is go out and get. We need to go out and connect. You see, some like to say, well, the doors are open, but the doors can be open, but nobody will walk through them. That doesn't mean people walk through the doors if they're open. I had a friend tell me, I told my friend that, I said, you know something? I just found out the philosophical meaning of my business model, SWET for Success. I just found out the philosophical meaning of SWET, S-W-E-T. I learned what it meant. It meant that when you walk into it, most of you probably have had this experience, walking into a building where there are two sets of doors. And when you walk in one set of doors, you might have somebody walking up behind you. And when you see that person walking up behind you, you will do the kind thing and hold that door open for somebody. And then what they will do in turn is hold the door open for you next. You see what I'm saying? When you open doors for others, that opens doors for you. Do not be a self-promoter. We can't do that. We can't come in here looking for what we can gain. We can't come in here looking out for number one. We need to look out for number two. People are worried about being rich and having something to gain but for themselves, taking from others. I'm asking you, what are you doing with your star power? You are a light.